The knock on my cabin door came just after midnight, during the worst thunderstorm western Montana had seen that year. The wind howled through the pine trees like a wounded animal, and rain slammed against the windows, hard enough to shake the walls. I wasn't expecting anyone. Nobody lived within miles of my small lakeside cabin near Whitefish, and most people avoided the mountain roads after dark. When I opened the door, I froze. A young woman stood there soaked from head to toe, shivering uncontrollably. Her long brown hair clung to her face, and fear filled her green eyes. She looked exhausted, lost, and completely alone. And then she asked a question that changed both our lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change a person's destiny and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps more heartwarming stories reach people who need them. My name is Nathan. 3 years earlier, I had lost my wife Rachel in a car accident. Since then, life had become painfully quiet. I worked remotely as a graphic designer and spent most of my days alone. The cabin had once been our dream home. After Rachel died, it became a place where I hid from the world. The woman standing at my door introduced herself as Hannah. Her car had slid off a mountain road several miles away. Her phone battery had died, and after walking through the storm for nearly an hour, she spotted the light from my cabin. I invited her inside immediately. The fireplace crackled warmly as she sat wrapped in blankets. I made hot coffee and found some dry clothes that had belonged to Rachel. Watching Hannah warm up brought back memories I had spent years trying to bury. For the first time in a long while, the cabin didn't feel empty. Hours passed as the storm continued outside. Hannah spoke little about herself. Whenever I asked where she was headed, she would gently change the subject. It was obvious she was carrying some kind of pain. Around 2 in the morning, after the power briefly flickered out, she looked at me nervously. The guest room roof had developed a leak during the storm, and water was dripping onto the bed. There was only one dry room left in the cabin. Hannah lowered her eyes and quietly asked if there was space left in my bed. For a moment, silence filled the room. I looked at the woman who had appeared out of nowhere during the darkest storm of the year. Then, I smiled softly and answered with a question of my own. "What if you said you wanted to stay forever?" The words surprised even me. For the first time since losing Rachel, I realized how lonely I had become. Hannah didn't answer immediately. Instead, tears filled her eyes. That night, neither of us slept much. We talked until sunrise. And that's when her story finally emerged. Months earlier, Hannah had escaped an abusive relationship in Seattle. The man she trusted had slowly isolated her from friends and family until she barely recognized herself. After finally finding the courage to leave, she packed everything she owned into her car and started driving east with no destination in mind. She wasn't searching for a place. She was searching for peace. Listening to her story broke my heart, because, in a strange way, we were both running from ghosts. Mine wore the face of someone I had lost. Hers wore the face of someone she desperately wanted to forget. When the storm finally cleared, sunlight reflected across the lake like liquid gold. I offered to help retrieve her car. After several hours and a tow truck, we managed to get it back onto the road. Now she was free to leave, but something felt different. Neither of us wanted to say goodbye. Over the following weeks, Hannah stayed nearby at a small motel in town. We began spending time together almost every day. We hiked mountain trails, shared meals, and watched sunsets over the lake. Slowly, the walls around our hearts began to crumble. She laughed more, I smiled more, and for the first time in years, the future didn't feel frightening. Yet, life rarely allows healing without one final test. One afternoon, Hannah received a call from her younger sister in Oregon. Their mother had suffered a serious medical emergency. Without hesitation, Hannah prepared to leave. But before she did, she confessed something that left me speechless. She admitted that the night she arrived at my cabin, she hadn't just been seeking shelter. She had nearly given up on life entirely. The storm wasn't the only thing she had been running from. She had been carrying so much pain that she no longer believed happiness was possible. Yet somehow, a random light shining from a lonely cabin had changed everything. As she drove away, fear returned to my heart. What if this was goodbye forever? For weeks I heard almost nothing. Then one autumn evening, another knock echoed through my cabin. The same cabin, the same door, the same lake outside. When I opened it, Hannah stood there smiling through tears. This time she wasn't soaked by rain. She wasn't running from anything. She was finally home. Before the ending, I have a special request for everyone watching. Comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives." If you believe one small act of compassion can completely transform someone's future. Hannah's mother recovered. Family wounds had begun to heal, and after months apart, Hannah realized that the place she felt safest wasn't a city, a state, or even a house. It was with the person who had opened a door during the darkest night of her life. 1 year later, standing beside the lake where our story began, I asked Hannah to marry me. She said yes. The crowd at our wedding was small, but the joy was enormous. Sometimes people spend their entire lives searching for miracles. The truth is that miracles often arrive disguised as strangers standing in the rain. And sometimes, when someone asks if there is space left in your bed, what they're really asking is whether there is space left in your heart. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows these emotional stories of hope, healing, and second chances to reach more people around the world. Because every once in a while, one open door can lead to a forever kind of love.